Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Today, I've got Sharad on the show. Get this, Sharad has done over 750 real estate deals over the past 10 deals. He's primarily in the Lake County and Indiana markets. He's managing his business from Carlsbad, California, which is where he resides. So I'm very interested to see how he's running his business remotely and how he's grown and scaled his business into what sounds something very, very remarkable. He's got an awesome software system that he uses to manage 3 to 4 rehabs a month while living in a completely different state. So let's talk about that today. Sharad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for having me, man. Really looking forward to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know you and your business a lot better. For those listening that don't know you, don't know anything about you, tell us your story.
Yeah, so I live in Carlsbad, California. It's about 40 minutes north of San Diego. I started investing back in 2010. I bought my first two-unit property. My primary reason for getting into real estate was I wanted freedom of time and money. So I tried a couple of different things. Wanted to be a full-time poker player at one point. Absolutely sucked at it. Still horrible at it.
You said
And
poker player?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely horrible at it. Then came across a book called Millionaire Real Estate Investor and really related to that book. Just started going down the journey of real estate investing. Started out buying rental properties from there 2012 through 14, 15. I started working with investors from Australia. They were buying properties in US. So I helped them buy tons of properties in Indiana and just kind of business scaled from there. And then 2015 is when I was living in downtown Chicago at that point. 2015, I moved from Chicago to where I live now. And that's kind of where I started looking at systems and processes I'll need in my business. And, I didn't find anything that would fit the bill. So I just ended up creating recently.
Okay, so that's the software system. So you created that
Correct.
out of a need that
Yep.
you personally had in an industry that
Absolutely.
you had a lot of experience with, it sounds like.
Correct. Yep. 100%.
So talk to us about how you've scaled your business. I think in here you've made a note that like you're only working in your real estate business maybe like 1 hour a day, and you're doing maybe somewhere around I think you said 4 to 5 rehabs a month. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you do between rental properties that we have and then the flips that I do. Yeah, we do about 4 to 5 rehabs a month. Yeah, we built some good systems and processes. I mean, yeah, that's all great, but we have the right people doing the right thing. So that helps me kind of focus on some other things that are going to scale the business. So it's a very virtual business. I live in San Diego area. My project manager, who's managing all the rehab, she lives an hour north of me in California, in Temecula, and she's managing everything in Indiana. And my lead manager slash acquisition manager lives in Philippines. So we don't have anyone local. It's a very remote virtual business. We're managing all from our own locations, and we all use recently. That was the whole kind of when we started out. The whole point was to create a software we could all be in one software to run the business. But then having the flips that we're doing, having built systems and processes around it, like a lot of flips that we do, we sell to turnkey investors, out of state investors that are looking to buy properties, cash flow properties. So we're pretty, scalable, repeatable system that we have. If it's a rehab that we're going to rent out and sell to an investor, it's the same flooring, paint, light fixtures, faucets that we're using. So we don't even have to think about it. And on flips, we have like few different, finishes that we go from. And it's just a matter of just going in, not, you know, essentially eliminating as many decisions as we can from our business. Just so that there's very, very minimal friction in the process that we have.
What does your team look like? You just said that there were some pretty crucial roles that I felt like for us, because we used to flip houses, I had to have those positions on the ground in the market. We were actually doing the flips. What does your team look like?
So it's me, Claudia, who's my project manager. She lives in California, an hour north of me, and Jay, who's the lead slash acquisition manager. He lives in Philippines. Um, I used to think that way also, but once I moved from Chicago to California, I realized how much inefficiency I had in my business. For example, when I was living in downtown Chicago, so the area that I invest in Indiana, it's about 30 to 45 minutes outside of Chicago. So if when I was living in Chicago, a contractor would call me, let's say a plumber calls me and said there's a leak, I would literally drive down from Chicago to Indiana, look at it and say, yep, there's a leak. What's the estimate? Once I moved to California, that wasn't an option anymore. So then it's like, hey, all right, how about we do a video call, show me, what's going on, right? So then I realized I could have done all of this while living in Chicago. There was no need for me to be driving down every single time there was an issue with the property. And then for me, at least in all the businesses that I have realized it doesn't matter where the person is based for the most part. It's most important is their work ethics. Do they have the right skill set? Do they have the right um, you know, attitude towards the job that they're doing? If they do, then it doesn't matter where they are. We are even on the ReSimpli side. We're a very very remote company. We
Mhm.
have people all over the world. A lot of people that I've never met with, a lot of people that haven't met each other. But the business goes on because we have the right people, in the right seats.
Who's managing the projects on a local level? Who's doing the work? Is it general contractors that are doing this
Yeah.
work? Who's getting the actual
No, we don't have
contract
general
signed?
contractors. We don't have
Okay.
general contractors. We're working directly with subs. So we're working with plumber, HVAC guy, electrician, carpenters directly. Claudia is our project manager. She's our GC/project manager. I mean, it's to the point where I don't even know the names of the contractors that we have in our business. I've never seen them, never met them. Uh, I have a separate bank account that I've set up for Claudia, so I move money to the bank account once a week for her to pay the contractors. She manages all of that. My role in the business is to make sure we always have enough money available to buy the projects, buy the properties that we have, and then make sure that we're making the our expected profit when our actual profit is the same as expected profit, if not more. So I just look at the numbers and the process at a very high level. I do about 5-10 minutes huddle with my team every morning. So if I'm spending more than 15-20 minutes a day in the business, something somewhere has gone wrong, and I need to just come in and fix the process. So that's kind of how we're just repeatable processes that we build in the business.
Who signs off to say that the house is complete and ready to go to market and that all the repairs look good?
So Claudia does that. Then if it's going on the market, if we're going to list it on the market, then the listing agent will do a walkthrough, let us know if there's anything that needs to be done. If it's going to be property that we're going to rent out and sell to an investor, then I own a property management company. Then the property manager will go out, do a walkthrough, and say if it's good enough condition to rent out. So we have some checks and balances there to make sure everything is in the right direction.
Because in my experience, if there's no general contractor and you're managing all the subs, when they all get done with their work, some of the work kind of overlaps. The hardest part is like finishing out the punch out, right? Like all the little bitty details that
Right.
a buyer, if you're flipping it, cares about, right? Little bitty details that got to get punched out. I mean, is that you'll have like a punch out crew that's doing that? Because in my experience, it's tough to make a lot of subs come back and clean up work. If for example, you've got to cut a hole in the drywall to fix and move a light fixture or
Right.
something like that.
No, I mean, we don't have any punch out crew. If they don't fix it, they don't get paid. I mean, these are guys that have been with us for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
These are not like new people that we're finding for every project. These are people that have been with us for, many years. They've been working with us. So they understand, you know, they only get to keep making money if we're able to finish these projects in time, within budget, and sell them. So if they don't finish a project, they jump onto the next one, then our money is stuck. Then there's no money for us to put into the other projects. Then it ends up directly affecting them, as much as it affects us. So no, we've been fortunate with the right subs that we have, the right people that we've hired, they're all committed to making sure that they follow the process. They get done whatever stuff needs to get done. Again, I'm just speaking from my point of view where I'm not involved. I'm not talking to any contractors. I'm sure there's a lot more that goes on, like Claudia, my project manager, manages. But for me, the way I look at it is, okay, we're buying this house on first of the month. How much are we paying for it? What's our estimated rehab? What's our estimated time to finish it? Okay. Are we finishing it in time, within budget? Yes. Good. Whatever happens to make that happen, it doesn't come to me unless it's a pretty big problem.
Hmm.
Rarely, maybe once every 20, 30 projects, something will come to my attention. My listing agent might bring to my attention here and there, but very, very rarely. But that's Claudia's role, is to make sure we get from the finish to end within time, within budget. And she gets base plus salary based on, base plus profit bonus based on how much money we're making each project. So the more money we make on a project, the more money she makes at the end of the day. So she gets more money from her bonus than she gets as a base. And then the bonus is also aligned with how quickly we finish a project. So if you buy a project for $100,000, we put 50 into it, and we sell it for 200,000, right? We make $50,000. We have two similar projects. On one, we make 50,000 in 3 months. One, we make 50,000 in 2 years. Those are two different bonus structures for her. The sooner we make the net profit, the more money she makes on it, because we have holding costs that we actually deduct from the net profit before she gets her bonus. So the longer the project goes on, the less money she's making.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you're not basing it off of a gross profit per
No.
deal. You somehow incorporated the holding cost of the company in there to
Yep.
make sure that it's truly profitable. Talk to me about that. What does that look like?
So let's say in the case of, we put 100,000, we buy the property for 100, we put 50 into it, total cost is 150. If it takes us, let's say, 6 months, right? We take
Mhm.
1% of our total cost towards holding costs. So in this case, $1,500 every month for 6 months, $9,000 comes out of a net profit, and then she gets a percentage of the profit.
What
So going
percentage?
back, she gets, depending on how much profit we make. The minimum we have to make is 15. If you make less than 15 net after holding cost, she doesn't make anything. And then it just escalates. So it's 10, and then it goes up from there, the more money we make. So like, just going back to the example, if you make 50,000 in 3 months, that's $4,500 holding cost. That's $1,500 a month. So she gets on 45,500. Now, if
Ah,
it's 2 years to make 50,000, that's $36,000 of holding cost. So she's making net, she's getting her bonus only on 14,000.
got
So
it.
those are like two different deals for us.
Yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting because the from what I've read and learned, the most successful companies are the ones that can tie the compensation plans to a performance goal in one way,
Right.
shape, or form. And so many entrepreneurs wrestle with that. Like, what's the magic formula? Like how do I do that? I had a consultant come in town for 2 days, and in the 80s, he built a development business building homes to over $100 million. This was back in the 80s. That's what, a $300 million company. Ended up helping the owners sell it. He said that structure that they used, he goes, they literally had zero turnover because they gave 25% of the profits to the employees and 25% of the profits to the managers. And that
Right.
was a huge, huge
Yeah.
amount. But once he had built the A team, the Rockstar team, nobody ever left.
Right.
And think at some point their lowest tenured employee was like 8 years. And he's like, that was what allowed them to really grow and scale because they had a rock star team and the growth just kept compounding each other. And all the employees in the organization got to actually feel, touch,
Right.
and see the success or of the organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we have some people overseas, like India, Philippines, Bangladesh, for my other business. Some of those employees, we pay more than what we would pay an employee in the US, just because of the value that they're bringing to the business. So, and then they're happy, they're making really good money. I'm happy because I'm getting the value. I don't look at it as, oh, why am I paying this person, let's say, $30 an hour when I could hire someone locally? It's for me, it's like, okay, if I'm paying this person $30 an hour, is that person bringing, you know, enough value to justify $30 an hour? It doesn't matter where they're located as long as they're bringing enough value to the business.
How are you setting up your virtual guys to be successful? I'm very curious for those that are managing boots on the ground stuff. Now, like, my VA, for example, she helps with a lot of the media stuff, right? She's managing the graphic designers and the podcast release and the release on social media, stuff like that. Stuff that is a sit at home and get on a computer job. But for those that are virtual, managing something where something is actually happening in real life, not on a computer in the virtual world, but in the real world, I'm very interested to learn how your PM
Hmm.
and other positions that are in charge of maybe, the property management, etc. Like, how are they able to get a grip on what they're managing if they can't actually be there?
So it all comes down to looking at the KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. There's going to be some leading indicators, there's going to be some lag indicators. So leading indicators would be the one that, like, for example, let's go back to the house flipping business. So our goal is, from the time we buy a house to the time we put it back on the market, it has to be under 90 days. Some cases it's going to be more because we may end up buying a house that's rented out. In
Yeah.
that case, we have to go through the eviction process, so it's going to be a little bit longer. But if it's a house that's vacant, from the time we buy to the time we put it on the market, 90 days, because 90 days, because majority of our houses we sell FHA. So, we have to sit on the property for 90 days. So now for me, that's a leading indicator that's going to tell me how much money, if we're going to make enough money on it. If I don't track that, if I just look at the lag indicator, which is like the end result, the output of all the effort, which would be the profit, then I'm not controlling the process. So if I tell Claudia, hey, we want to make sure every house that we buy, from the time money goes in to the time it goes on the market, 90 days, right? Then I can just look at that. Then I look at it as a KPI. Okay, is it happening in 90 days or not, right? If it's taking 120, 150 days, what can we do? Either we have contractors that are too slow, right? Either we don't have enough contractors, or even then I can further break it down, right? From the time we buy a house, then how long does it take for our contractors to give us an estimate? From the time we get an estimate, how long does it take before they start working on it? From the time they start working on it, how long does it take for them to finish? Now I can start looking at each piece of it. Let's say if it takes them, from the time we buy to the time they give us an estimate, it takes them 30 days. It should not take them 30 days. That means we don't have enough contractors. We should be getting these estimates out sooner. From the time they give us an estimate to the time we start working, let's say it takes them another 30 days. That means it's either, our approval process is too slow, or the SOW that they're giving us is not complete enough, where we're going back and forth because we cannot approve for 30 days. And then it ends up taking them 30 days, let's say, to finish the project, even though it got done in 90 days. But you can look at it and say, okay, it was only a 30-day rehab, but we wasted 60 days between the time we bought and the time we approved the process, approved the estimate on this. And then you can start looking at it and see, where is the bottleneck in the business, right? Do we need more contractors? Do we need a better approval process? Do we need
Mm.
better contractors who are giving us a little bit more detailed SOW? And then we do the same thing in a property management business and in the software company.
What I think a lot of people struggle with these key performance indicators, especially if it's a new position. Do you have a framework that you use that helps you decide what the key performance indicators need to be? Or if maybe you've got a position that you've finally figured out what the key performance indicators are, and over time you're noticing the gap, this inefficiency, that you're like, we need another key performance indicator right here. What does that framework look like to make that decision?
I mean, if the way we look at it is, okay, the role that we're hiring this person for, what is the outcome that we want, right?
Okay.
Let's say the outcome is having these, let me put it in a different context, right? Just to make it more relatable. Let's say if, beginning of the year, I want to lose weight. Let's say I weigh 300 pounds, I want to get down to 250. So for me, getting from 300 to 250, that's the lag indicator, right?
Mhm.
That's the outcome that I want.
Yeah,
Okay.
want to lose 100 pounds.
Yeah, I want to lose 100 pounds. Let's say I want to go from 300 to 200 pounds. I want to lose 100 pounds. That's my goal, right? That's the outcome that I'm expecting. Okay, now what is the input that needs to happen from my side for me to get from 300 to 200? That's working out and eating healthy, right? So those are the things I control.
Right.
I don't, then I stop worrying about the outcome. We still look at the outcome, but I manage more of the input that's going in, the effort that's going in,
Yeah.
right?
I like what you did there. I'm thinking it is like where my brain just went with that was 100 pounds. Well, 3,500 calories per pound. So if my math is right here, I'm pretty sure that's 350,000 calories that you need to burn. So boom, 350,000 calories. Now it gets fun. Now you can look at your exercise routines that you can do
Yep,
and you can reverse engineer and go, all right, over what time period? If it's 2 years, awesome. All
yep,
right, cool. We've got
exactly.
365 days times two. I don't know what that is, 300 or like 720 days,
730.
something like
Yeah,
that, divided by 300 and, divided by
yeah,
350,000 calories. That gives you calories per day.
exactly.
Now you've got your inputs
Exactly.
that you need for exercise every day.
Yeah. So then you just forget about, you still weigh yourself every day, but you don't worry about it so much.
Yeah.
Right. But let's say if after a month you notice you still weigh 300 pounds or you weigh 305 pounds, you end up gaining weight. Then you look at, okay, you have the goal of going to gym, but are you actually working out? Are you just lifting weights and not doing cardio? Then you start going a little bit more granular into, okay, I have the right metrics, but let's just look at deeper that what am I doing? What's the effort that I'm putting in? And then you start managing, tweaking the dials and see, okay, what else do I need to do?
Yeah.
Right. And then you start managing from there. So that's how we look at for any role, right? We don't have set KPIs. We just look at, okay, the person that we hired, what is the ultimate outcome that we expect? Right. The absolute and then ideally you just want one outcome. That's the biggest domino that you want to tip over, right? So you look at that and then you look at, okay, what does this person need to do? What's the effort this person needs to put in for this person to be successful in getting that outcome? Then you track the outcome, but then on a regular basis you look at the effort that the person is putting in. Right? Again, going back to the example of losing weight, right? If I'm at 300 pounds, I'm going to go down to 200 pounds. I'm not going to beat myself. Oh, it's been 1 week. I'm still at 300 pounds. I'm just going to look at, okay, did I go to gym every day? Did I eat healthy every day? Yes, I'm doing everything in my control. And then I'll see how I progress. If it's not going in the right direction after a month or two, then maybe I bring in an expert to look at the process that I have. Am I doing the right exercise? Am I eating the right food? Then I tweak that. And then I look at it a month later and see if it's going in the right direction. If it is, then just keep doing more of what you're doing. Whatever is not working, take that out of the process. Whatever is working, just keep doing more of that.
No, that makes a whole lot of sense. I know that you created a software, RE Simply, designed to basically fulfill some needs that you had working on this business that didn't exist out there. I mean, talk to me how all these automations play into this software that you invented.
Yeah, so it started out like I mentioned earlier. I moved 2015. I moved from end of 2015. I moved from Chicago to California. So I started looking at the software I would need to run my business more efficiently. And so like 2016, 17, I didn't really find anything, like pretty much everything that was available would need me to integrate a whole bunch of different software. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I don't feel excited about integrating software. It just seems like there's like way too many things that I'm managing, going into one software to do this, then another one to do this. I mean, it's like, you don't use iPhone as your regular phone, or you don't use Gmail for your email and then go to Outlook for your calendar. You can integrate them, but is it the most efficient process, right? You
Yeah.
just you just want something that just works seamlessly,
Right.
right? So that was the idea. I wanted something that was super simple to use, all in one, and then had to have good KPIs. I come from an accounting background, so it had to have good KPIs. So where I could make decisions based on the data.
Hmm.
rather than on the gut feeling. So that's kind of where the idea started. Then I hired a couple of developers to create something for myself in 2017. Worked on it for about 2, 3 years, and then 2020 we opened it up for other people. It was again based on my need. It's grown way beyond my needs. We have people that are doing 10 times the deals that I'm doing, using our software. So it's definitely grown way beyond my personal needs in my business. Now it's built more for investors that are doing all sorts of cool things. That I have a very simple business that I run, direct to seller marketing, buy these off market properties, rehab them, flip them, make profit, and just keep doing more of that.
Yeah.
But the investors that we have, they're doing some really cool and creative stuff.
Who is this software a good fit for?
For investors that are buying off-market properties, that are doing
Single
wholesaling.
family residential?
I mean, we have investors that are doing multi-units, that are doing storage units, but it's primarily our investors are single-family investors.
Got it. Okay. So it's
Yeah,
good. It's good for real estate in general, but I got a general understanding. If you've
right,
got a team and you want to manage stuff remotely, this sounds like it's an awesome software. Because it's very
right.
impressive that you're doing that kind of volume with the little team that you had. I'm pretty sure you guys 75 homes a year, 50, 60 homes a year. That was more than what we were doing when we were flipping. And I had a bigger team than you. So
Mhm.
obviously you figured some things out that I didn't 7 years ago when we were flipping properties. For those that want to learn more about you, learn more about your company, maybe even learn more about this software, where should they go?
Yeah, they could go to ReSimpli, RESIMPLI.com. And if they want to get in touch with me, it's the email is the best way, Sharad, SHARAD at ReSimpli.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure that gets posted. If you're listening to this, go check out Sharad's stuff. Also, if you got value from this episode, show us some love, leave us some reviews, share this with your friends and family. Sharad, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you, Brendan. I really enjoyed this conversation.